How's she going? In this video we have a 2015 Impala that we need to look at. The complaint is there's some squeaking coming from the front wheel. I drove it. I do hear the sound. It's sort of barely noticeable, but it is definitely cyclic. You can hear it once per rotation. So, and then also the back brakes need to be done. So the first thing we need to do is jack the car up, put jack stands underneath it, and pull the back tires off. Let's get to that. As you saw there, you can just kick the tire on the one edge to break it loose once you get the lug nuts off. Go ahead and break these bolts loose before you take off anything else. If you need to, if things are really tight, I like to use one of these little tiny butane torches so you're not burning everything. And you can go ahead and just heat that up for about 30 seconds. There's another one right here. Go ahead and break this screw loose on each rotor before you take the calipers off. My recommendation is to use a torch, obviously a bigger torch. Mine just ran out of gas, but just heat this nut up for like 30 seconds. Hold your ratchet in there tightly because you do not want to strip these out. It's a pain in the ass. Then you got to drill the top off the thing. 2 bolts you need to take out on each side. This guy here, I find it 18 seems to fit on there, so him there, and also this bolt right there. Once you get your calipers off, we can remove the rotors, which is fairly easy. Once you have these, you can take these nuts the rest of the way out and your rotors are off. So if you find one of these rotors is stuck, there's a couple things you can do. You can take a torch and heat up on all these areas right here. You can also tap on these flat surfaces. If you don't have a torch, you can usually just keep whacking and eventually it'll come off. There you go. Okay guys, at this point you can take these the rest of the way off. Alright, there's 2 bolts. Be careful. There you go, you got all your pads and everything on here. You just set that out of the way. Alright, so now we got this portion off. We're gonna go ahead and clean all this stuff. Alright guys, another thing you want to do when you're after you replace your pads, you clean everything off, put these on, you put your pads on, you can go ahead and pull these rubber grommets off. Just be careful. These just kind of come out. You can see there that grommet comes off. And just check these out, make sure they're not all dried out. They got good movement. If they're all dried out or if they're really, you know, sticking in there, you can clean out these holes with brake clean and replace the grease. You can buy a whole can of this stuff if you want. And this is what I typically put back into these pinholes. Pay attention to which pin goes where, because you can see on this one, these 2 pins are slightly different. So if you got a really old car or you have uneven brake wear, on the pads on one side. Like let's say one pad's worn all the way down, but this one's still out 3/4, means these slides aren't working correctly. If that's the issue you're having, you can buy a pin kit as well to replace it. It'll come with this whole piece right here, and you can replace those. If you take these off, you need to make sure you keep them on the right side. And if you don't know what side that is, hopefully you have this sticker here. See, it says left hand, so that's your left hand side. All right, next you can pull your rotors out. So you want to go ahead and clean all of this off with brake clean. Once you clean stuff off, do not put your greasy hands on it. Hold it from the center. So you need to make sure this hole here lines up with the hole that's on the hub. As you can see there, you can put those nuts back in there. As far as I understand, those bolts are there for assembly, or those screws. If for chance you were to break them or something coming out, you could just drill the head off them and put the rotors back on. You don't actually need them on there. That rotor will be held tight when you put the wheel on, so it's not necessary. But it's just there to secure it for assembly, as far as I know. If somebody works in like the factory or something and wants to correct me on that, be my guest. Do not touch any of this surface after you've cleaned these off with brake clean. If you do that, you're going to end up regretting it. You're going to get grease ground into your pads, and all your hard work will be for naught. So just be cognizant of that. You don't want to be touching any of these surfaces after you put these rotors on. If I wasn't clear about this, let me be clear again. Don't touch this. Don't touch this after you clean it. Don't touch it with your greasy fingers. Don't get grease all over it. Don't get oil on it. Don't get shit all over it. Don't touch it. Alright, so this is what I consider the most annoying part about doing back brakes on these newer cars, and that is getting these calipers back in. Now you can buy a special tool, probably not a bad idea, to be honest with you, because the way that I do it is extremely agitating. You're going to end up stabbing your hands. You might find a better way with just common hand tools, but I'm going to show you how I do it. Keep in mind that you need to be turning these calipers and pushing in at the same time with quite a bit of force, which is why I have stabbed my hand multiple times before. I probably should just buy the tool. That would make my life easier, but anyway, we'll get to that and I'll show you. What you need to do is you need to push in. I use needle nose for this. You need to push in and turn at the same time. And be cognizant of this boot. If it's twisting up too much, you don't want to tear this boot. You don't want to stab this boot. You don't want to cut this boot. You don't want to trash this boot by slipping off. So you need to be careful when you do this, but you need to push hard in this direction. Be careful not to stab your hand, and then also turn at the same time. The same thing applies to these pads. Try not to touch them with your greasy hands, you dirty grease monkeys, sons of bitches. I'm just kidding. So you can put this on here. Just be careful because these tend to pop off. These nuts are annoying on this car because they don't come out all the way. Sometimes you got to do the wiggly jiggly to get this started. Feel free to put Loctite back on these bolts, the big bolts that hold the bracket or the caliper on here. You can put some Loctite back on those if you want. I just used blue. I didn't have any red. I don't think red's necessary. You don't need to make this impossible to get off. You just need to make sure it's nice and tight. So once you got your caliper screwed in and tight enough, you can put these on here. I like to put this back on and just screw this bolt in a little bit. That way I can I can work on this and then I can check it to see if it fits, which it does at this point. Once you get it to fit, don't touch this. Don't touch the rotor. If I mentioned that part, you guys better not touch this rotor. If you touch this rotor with your dirty hands, I'm gonna hunt you down. I'm just kidding, I won't do that. That's horrible. Who says things like that? Now, you can put your little bolts back in, right here. Go ahead and tighten these up. Go ahead and tighten up your caliper bolts, your big bolts here now. And your other one down here. Tighten this up really good. You don't want your caliper coming off like mine did. Ow! Oh! Oh! Alright, now you can put your wheels back on. You can recheck everything if you want, just to be safety. Check this, check these, check that guy, check your big caliper bolt, check your other caliper bolt. Do the same on the other side, and then you can put your wheels back on. Alright, so once you get your wheels back on, you can lower your car down, like I said. So you can go ahead, put your wheels on, put your nuts on, screw them on by hand first, and then you can go ahead and once you get them relatively tight, till the tires start spinning, you can let the car down and tighten them up on both sides, obviously. Now, one final important piece before you go driving this car, make sure that you press your brake down a few times. You're not opening up the brake system, but you need to, you know, especially if you're doing front brakes too, it's going to be really shocking when you go to press the brake pedal the first time and it doesn't actually do anything. So just get in your car, start it up, and then just go ahead and just to press the brake a few times, and you should be good to go. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked this content, if you found it helpful, please like and subscribe, and stick around. I'm going to start going into more of the way of approaching mechanical issues, as far as your way of thinking and how you attack things, so that you're not constantly having to find videos to figure things out. You can sort of get down the process in your mind, and it's a certain way of thinking that will allow you to attack virtually any problem, as long as you have a sort of fundamental, basic, or even basic understanding of how it works. So anyways, I appreciate it. Like I said, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.